Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, back into the second game. Today's Code A. I'm Calder, with me is Wolf, and to the left of the side of the map we have our Protoss player. In the red colors we have
Killer.
He won the last game. He's up in the best of 3 series with 1-0. Is quite the decent PvZ player, 52 win percentage, 14 wins, 30 losses. His opponent at the top left in the blue color is
Invictus Gaming XiGua.
And his best matchup is, interestingly enough, the matchup against Protoss. 75% win ratio, 15 wins, only 5 losses. But he just lost another match against the Sons of Ire, so let's see if he can take the best of 3 series or if Killer will prove to be his superior. And we are on Metropolis. Metropolis is a map that is known for a lot of 2-base attacks by Protoss, especially attacks with... No, sorry, for a second I thought you started with the early pool again. No, but what I was about to say is that we've seen a lot of PvZ matches on Metropolis, and so far most Zerg players just lost on this map against two base pushes of Protoss, especially gateway pushes are really strong. The Immortals as well.
Yeah, the way the third is and the way the ramps are, it's a little bit harder to hold those pushes. Now we are going to see a Nexus first here from Killer before Forge, and since it's pool first, you know, it's kind of a brave move by him, but he knows the timing exactly. He's seen it with his probe, so he should be fine here.
We have no gas for XiGua, so he will go for the hatch.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see just 4 Zerglings coming out. He's not going to make 6. He's not going to try to catch his opponent with the Nexus first or anything like that. Pylon block here. Killer, I really like that.
And it's a little bit of a problem. If you take the third base, then you have the problem that there are rocks between the second and the third, so if there's a gateway attack, it's sometimes a little bit hard to defend. You need to make sure that your creep spread is actually very good. But at the same time, those gateway attacks on 2 bases, sometimes even with Immortal support, are really good. We have another pylon now at the third base in order to block it as well.
Yeah, man, he saw the drone go over there, he blocked it with a pylon. Smart move, even canceled it, so now XiGua just behind in so many different ways. He is going to probably just make that third base anyways now, even after his second one. So yeah, he does take a fast third.
The problem is that the layout of the maps just favors force field play, and there are a lot of positions when if you push in as a Protoss player, you can get in a position where you can just force field a ramp and suddenly cut off half your opponent's forces. So this is a little bit tricky, and I actually haven't seen any Zerg player that was able to deal with it very well. So let's see if XiGua is able to pull it off, if Killer decides to go for exactly this attack.
Yeah, I think he will, Caldor. I think you're right. I think this is a really good map for these time attacks right now. That's why we've been seeing them. Protoss players have figured out how to utilize this map in such a way they can force field, and there's 2 very important ramps that the Zerg player has to deal with, and it's very easy to control those with force field, so...
Even the ramp into the main base, it's not that far away.
Very true, exactly.
As soon as you are in a position where you can force field the ramp as a Protoss player, you can make sure that your opponent can only use the second and the third base in order to build units. You will cut off a whole chunk of his army, and that is such a good position to be in.
That's why I really like that XiGua has been taking out this debris the entire time with just a few Zerglings, but even so, doing just that little thing can help you out later. If you can kill those rocks, it makes it so much easier to defend the third. It's not easy still at that point, because you have to funnel units down a ramp and there's force fields that can be used, but I agree with you completely. This map is quite prone to 2-base timing attacks from Protosses.
The one thing that I really liked in the GSTL when we've seen the last PvZ on this map is that our Protoss player actually built a warp prism as well. That's, by the way, that's the robotics facility. The warp prism not only to warp units into the main base, but just in order to not have to rely on pylons, which is really great, because at this particular timing window we don't have any anti-air for the Zerg player, so he can't take down the warp prism, and you can warp in units directly at...
Not only that, but the warp prism allows you to dodge targeting on Immortals, for example. If you bring Immortals with the push, you can pick them up in the warp prism. There's just so many different utilities for it. I really like the usage of the warp prism. We have, like you said, the fast robotics, and I'm curious to see what he's going to do with that.
And I think he's going to scout it, Wolf. There's the Overlord, and he should spot the robotics in just a few seconds. There it is, he knows about it. XiGua just spotted his opponent's position, and we have the Warp Prism being built already. +1 attack is researched right now, and the Zerg from China, he is going straight for the lair tag.
Well, you know what's interesting, Kaldor, actually, is there's no additional gateways.
Yeah,
or
not a
killers.
single one so far.
I think what he may do here is I think this kind of makes a sense with what's going on in the game. He may actually just take a fast third, make his opponent be really defensive. He's like, Warp Prism, maybe. But actually he's going to add the gateways now, but they're just so late that he can't use them with this Warp Prism. It's not going to work. Warp Gate Research timing is here. I don't think Killer forgot the gateways. I actually don't quite understand. I thought he was going to just make a third base and be like, I see, I tricked you, you saw the robotics.
There are 3 additional ones. 6 gates in total, 6 gates added, which makes 7 in total.
More.
8 gates.
This is
45 drones.
This is going to be really weird. He's going to think that this is just a small Zealot pressure and a Warp Prism, but actually, when those gateways finish, a lot more will come in here. We see, of course, a Stalker is joining the mix as well. He's going to actually pick it up, micro that, and...
It's cute, I like it.
I like it too. I don't know how effective the follow-up is going to be. We'll see. The gateways are finishing now. Just a few more, 4 of them not quite done.
We have the first Immortal, by the way, and he's starting the second one right after the first leaves the robotics facility. I think, is he using Chrono Boost for the Immortals as well? I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, he actually is.
Here we go, Kaldor. He's going to start warping in units. He's actually going to do it in plain sight, and XiGua is going to be hard-pressed to deal with this. He does have some roaches out now.
I love this. Using the Warp Prism and 1 Observer in order to take down the tumors, and as I already said, at this particular timing, there's just no anti-air for the Zerg player. He can't deal with the Warp Prism. He knows where it is, but as long as Killer is not using his Warp Prism on top of 2 or 3 queens, it won't die.
There are a ton of sentries back at home for Killer. He's still not using this Warp Prism to do an attack like we thought he might do, and he's actually just going to actually target a queen now, I think.
He's just annoying his opponent and trying to pressure him a little bit there while he's massing his army. And he's building another Immortal, so he's on 3 Immortals, and I think now he will start to push out the 3 Immortals and plus 1 armor halfway down. There it is. There he's pushing out now, and then he will start to use his Warp Prism in order to warp additional units to the front.
This is a really scary push. In total, like you said, he has 3 Immortals, but more importantly than that, perhaps, that he has 10 sentries, man. He's got 10 of them. He's going to have 1-1, and with this Warp Prism to reinforce wherever he wants, it's going to be pretty tough. He's actually going to engage with the roaches off creep. Tons of roaches captured here, and XiGua is in a lot of trouble now, Kaldor.
That's exactly what you try to avoid if you play against the Gateway and Immortal attack. That's the Warp Prism being used to warp in additional units. And I don't like that he got the roach speed. I think in this particular scenario, the burrow movement would have been a lot better in the early stages. Finish layer, get burrow movement in order to dodge the force fields. But now he's in so much trouble. There's a huge force for Killer just now heading towards the natural expansion. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, the force fields are so important. And there they are. Not the best force fields, but the army is way too small for XiGua. The Immortals in the back doing way too much damage, and that Killer backs up again, using his sentries, warping in additional units, looking pretty strong, but so far XiGua able to hold.
Yeah, this attack is just so strong. I mean, you're right, so far he's been able to hold, but I don't know how much longer he will. There's still a decent amount of force field energy left here. He's going on it. Well, didn't quite do that correctly. The Zerglings are not able to engage in the way that he wants them to. Killer now warping in actually additional sentries. The Immortals, all 3 of them are still alive, doing a ton of damage. Great force fields here, trapping the roaches. Zerglings do stream in here though, and he's actually out of sentry energy, so the Immortals may fall, but he's just done so much damage here. And the Warp Prism is now down, and Kaldor actually looks like XiGua is going to hold somehow.
How did he lose the Warp Prism? He should have paid more attention to it. The Warp Prism is key when you use this strategy. You have to keep the Warp Prism alive.
If he had kept the Prism alive, not only would he have been able to warp in more Zealots, but he could have saved his Immortals from the Zerglings.
The only thing that he needed were the Zealots, because the Zealots are already upgraded with +1 attack, so they kill the Zerglings with 2 strokes. At the same time, we have the Immortals in the back that are supported by the Zealots, so the Roaches can't actually focus down the Immortals. But losing the Warp Prism, how could that happen? By losing the Warp Prism, you make sure that the push is not scary anymore as a Zerg player, because you know there can't be any units when warped in, and this was what killed Killer's attack.
Yeah, I agree, and I really feel that he warped in 3 sentries at one moment. If those had been any other type of unit, probably Zealots, he could have possibly held the attack or held that push off. Either way, we're just going to see XiGua now barrel into Killer over and over again. Takes out the forge, going to take out this cannon and the gateway as well. And it looks like Killer is now in trouble. He's going to have to play on the defensive, and I think he's going to be stuck on 2 base for perhaps the rest of this game. He may even die here.
Killer was trying to go for this timing window, and he made a few mistakes that might cost him in this game because XiGua is now on 3 bases. He saturated them quite well. We have him with the Spire attack, while now the first Colossi is being built for Killer. And I don't think if he can really transition out of it. XiGua is just now turning up the heat. Has to be careful though. I don't like that he's got trapped with a force field, but he's taking down the Cybernetics core. No more Stalkers and Sentries for Killer.
Yeah, with the Cybernetics core down, Caldor, no more Stalkers, and that means these Roaches are just going to be so key. Once the first wave of Stalkers dies, he's going to be out of luck. More and more Speedlings rallying across the map now, and I think this is going to be game here very soon. The Zealots canceled actually by the Pylon being killed, and it looks like that's going to be all she wrote. Probes coming off the line to fight now. They're being taken out. Nice micro against the Zealots. Right now the upgrades are +2 for XiGua against +1-1. For Killer, and with more Zerglings coming in, he's just going to wait a second, gather his forces together, and finish him off. There is 1 Colossus, though.
1 Colossus, yes indeed. And now we have +1 about to finish for XiGua. But I think it's really interesting how this game changed. Killer's attack, or Killer's idea behind the whole attack, was to support his army with a Warp Prism, to have the +1 Zealots ready in order to take on the Zerglings. At the same time, you have the Immortals in the back to deal with the Roaches, and the Zealots, of course, just making sure that the Roaches can't get into position to snipe the Immortals. They can move the Immortals and everything, but you have to make sure that the Zealots can be warped in over and over and over again to have this small force at the front that is blocking the path. And with losing the Warp Prism, you just could not do that anymore. So I have to say that Killer, with a small mistake, XiGua so far played it really well though. And now we have 160 supply for our Chinese Zerg, while Killer on 100 is still stuck on 2 bases, now against 4 hatcheries of XiGua.
I mean, look at the Mutalisk count. It's up to 16.
Yeah.
He just does not have enough anti-air. That alone will just be too much.
And here they are. The Mutalists immediately focus the few remaining Stalkers. There are not a lot of them. Even the Colossi are in trouble now. There are more Roaches and Zerglings streaming in for the kill. And this is just another nail in the coffin. That's the GG. Killer leaves the game, and XiGua ties the series on 1-1.
I feel the hold was pretty nice by XiGua, but there's more so Killer's mistakes that lost him this game. For example, his timing was so off with those gateways. It was way too late, and he could have done a lot more if his timing had just been a little bit crisper on that. And I feel that his harassment kind of gave away his strategy to a certain extent. That didn't really necessarily help him. He caught all the Roaches, and from then that's like the game's over basically. After the Roaches he caught in the middle of the map, he just, like you say, didn't control the Prism correctly. He warped in the wrong units at certain times, and his force fields, actually, to be quite honest, were not the best in some cases. The first force field group against the slow Roaches, right as speed was finishing, was okay, but then the force fields later in the battle sometimes weren't the best, and he used up all of his force energy, and he like dropped a few force fields here and there, but then he was like, oh, I can't do my 3rd and 4th one, which are necessary for this wall, so then he kind of wasted that force energy, and even though his sentries remained alive at times, their force energy was already used up, and then that big push where the Zerglings came in, the Prism was gone, didn't have enough Zealots, lost his Immortals, couldn't pick him up in a Prism.
It was pretty close fight though, and at the end I think with another 7 or 8 Zealots warped in, that might have turned the tables in favor of Killer. So it was really, really a close hold by XiGua. He succeeded in doing so, and from that point on he just turned it up, went aggressive, and made sure that Killer just could not take a 3rd, was pressured into being on 2 bases, had a problem with attack as well. XiGua expanded again, was on 4 bases against 2. From that point on there was just nothing left for Killer than to die a slow and painful death.
There's a shot of him now. He looks a little bit disappointed. I felt, this is just my little opinion on this. When I saw the Warp Prism play, how he used it exactly, how he was kind of flying around, picking up Zealots, and doing the Stalker thing where he was harassing the Queens, I feel like it was his way of toying with his opponent. I actually think he was trying to do something weird there, try to throw his opponent off, and be like, what is, no Protoss drops like 3 Zealots and a Stalker in a main. Nobody does that. So I think he was trying to just mess with them there a little bit. I don't know, his timing, obviously, like I said, it was a little bit off. Everything about that game was funky, and XiGua just didn't make mistakes and won the game.
And here we have them again, ladies and gentlemen. They are in the lobby already. We have them on the third map, which is going to be Belcher Beach. XiGua just proved to us why his matchup against Protoss is his best with a 75% win ratio. Killer, on the other hand, as we said, he is not allowed. He can't take this match, this opponent, lightly. This is exactly why the last map is going to be Belcher Beach, and it will decide who's going to advance in Code A and who's going to drop down. It's going to start in a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. This is the GSL Code A with Caldon.